Are outside forces preventing you from writing? And do you want to do something about that? This one can work on two different levels. Those outside forces can be tangible, so it can be work commitments, family commitments, but then we can also come into a place where there's more of a sense of those outside forces. And that's the one that I want to talk about today, where there's a feeling that something external is preventing it from happening, preventing your creativity from taking place, preventing the writing from happening. But you can't really get a handle on it. You can't really get a handle on what this external or outside force is. But the result is that you feel powerless. You feel almost like being incarcerated, almost like being completely trapped or completely overwhelmed, and you just don't really know what's going on. So that's a tricky place to be in, right? We want to write a book, we want to write a play, whatever it is your creative project, whatever form your creative project is taking, and yet there's the sense of something outside of you and you can't see it, you can't get a handle on it, but it's stopping it from taking place. So what we do here is we come back and we start to remember who we are just on a very basic level. We're an animal, okay? And as an animal, we have these instincts, we have these senses or these sixth senses. So if you think about an animal who's perhaps out in the wild, they get a sense of a predator or they get a sense of a threat. They might not be able to see it, but they can perhaps smell it, perhaps they can hear it, or perhaps they can see it, but in a way that you might not necessarily understand. So it might be that they see a movement which we in our everyday lives would perhaps miss. So when there's that feeling of that external force that's getting in the way or preventing you, I want you to understand that that's the area that you've accessed. You're in that kind of animal state with a sense of some kind of threat out there or something out there and you don't quite know what it is, but you have felt it, heard it, seen it, or smelt it, okay? So what do we do about it? Because the fact is, we want to write. We want to see that creative project through to the end. We want to become successful. We want to make money, whatever it is. So if we're in this place of like, oh, there's something out there and I don't know what it is and it's stopping me, we've got to find a way to break through that. We've got to find a way to shift. So you come back to that sense, okay? And often this is the mistake that people make. They just don't spend enough time with it. Usually when I'm working with a client on this, we might spend at least half an hour like really exploring what that external force is. And then we discover what it is. So I really want to impart that to you, that just because you might not know what it is yet, or you might feel that it's kind of nebulous, it doesn't really have a name, and maybe it's like a little bit kind of superhuman, it is actually a thing and it's real and you've made it real. And we need to find out the kind of real that you've made it in order to deal with it. So you come back to like, how does it feel? Oh, I don't know. It kind of feels uncomfortable. It kind of feels scary. It feels unknown. It might be useful to just take some deep breaths. Like I'm not saying, sniff it out, but just take some deep breaths and just come back to the body and just breathe. And again, just get a sense of how it feels and what it's like to experience this external force. It might be that you start to look around you as well. You start to look around and think, okay, well, what is it that's perhaps influencing me? And you might think, oh, well, actually, I'm realizing looking around the house, like it's really messy, really needs a hoover. So again, you might think, okay, well, that's making me feel a bit unsettled. So usually what tends to happen with this exploration, we discover something that we're afraid of. We discover something that we're intimidated by. We discover some unknown that we haven't yet faced, that we're not quite sure how to navigate. But I really want for you to understand that unless you know what you're dealing with, that external force is going to remain there and it's going to remain being an obstacle to you achieving your creative potential. So without knowing any more specifics, it's hard for me to individually help you work through this one, but I want for you to understand that it's important to start to get really specific about what that current nebulous external thought is, and in turn grow your own power or your own sense of your power to be able to break through it. So let me know in the comments below what you got from this video and what kind of understanding you already have about one of those external unknowns that you can't quite get a handle on that might be holding you back, and I can help guide you through this one. We cover this quite a lot in my Facebook community, so find the link below and come join us over there if you want to go deeper into this work. It's all about enabling you to find your power and your self-belief to see that project through right to the end and really own the creative badass that you want to be. So really good to explain this one through to you today. Hope you got some value from it, and I look forward to seeing you next week.